Welcome to another episode of Orange Perspective. I never know how to start these things. I'm here with my good buddy, friend, and long-term working partner, Adam O'Donnell.
I was expecting some music or maybe something.
There might be
more
music.
elaborate.
There might be music when you listen to it.
Gotcha.
But that's after the fact. Thanks for being on here, dude.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You drive all the way from Richmond?
All the way from the great city of Richmond up here to Lee Street.
Richmond,
hang out
Kentucky.
with you.
Yeah, that's
Richmond,
right.
Kentucky.
Richmond,
yes.
Kentucky.
Let's be specific.
Well, I am dressed. You told me you were coming from a job.
Straight from the job.
You asked, "Is this going to be videoed?" And I said, "Yes." You said, "Oh, I'm going to be. I'm going to look like I've just been working," which is great. Yeah. I decided to put on my workout clothes so that I would fit in. So you just got done working.
Yes.
And I'm about to go work out.
Yes.
At a gym.
And we're dressed very appropriately for both things. Yes, I've been spreading mulch today. You are about to go.
I'm about to go like run on a treadmill because it's too
Orange
cold outside.
Theory or something?
No. I don't do Orange
we don't
Theory
do
anymore.
that.
I hurt my
no
back.
free ads.
No, I hurt my back, and so I don't do Orange Theory anymore. I run and then do some core stuff. I do Pilates. I know you love that one.
I go to Planet Fitness, so I'm just in there.
Let's talk about that. What do you do at Planet Fitness?
I set the lunk alarm off mostly.
Yeah, because you're just like...
my cutoff shirt and grunting a lot and taking up like 3 benches. No, I have no shame, so I'll tell you, I spent a lot of time on the elliptical.
Okay.
It's like the fastest way.
Why would that be shameful?
I don't know. Maybe the elliptical is seen as like the not cool way to work out, but
maybe
if you turn that bad boy up to like level 9 and you go hard for 30 minutes, you can burn like 400 calories.
Okay.
So I feel like for 30 minutes, getting in there, putting my headset on and getting after it. And then I do some other random workouts like on the exterior of the building, not where the people actually lift weights.
Wait, like outside?
No, like on the exterior of the inside of the building.
What are you talking about? The exterior of the inside of the building.
Correct.
What is on the exterior?
Stick to the edges. It's like the grocery store, you know? All the good stuff's on the outside. Same is true for Planet Fitness.
And what kind of machine? What kind of workout are you doing?
I do
on
a
the
lot of
exterior
core
to the interior?
stuff.
Okay, a lot of core
stuff. So that's where they hide like all the ab machines and whatnot. And then I'll grab a dumbbell or a kettlebell or just like a plate, and I'll do some like squats or lunges. I really go just to check it off and to keep myself moving.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know. I just feel out of shape quickly.
I mean, I think you're right. I've been thinking a lot about this recently, and actually just read Tim Ferriss's For Our Body, and that's a fascinating, approach. But one of the main things, Huberman podcast. You listen to Dr.
Ton of Huberman.
He's awesome. But one of his main things is just moving.
Yes.
Is one thing. Just doing some movement most days of the week. Doing something.
Yeah. So I work outside and I'm like doing something active all the time.
Yeah.
But I find that some days, like Monday, I was tired, whatever, the alarm goes off, and I got back from the gym, and my wife was like, "How's the gym?" And I said, "I got the participation trophy today." She said, "What does that mean?" And I said, "Well, when I got there, I was really counting down the minutes till the local coffee shop opened for me to get my coffee.
That's
so
awesome.
I went in and I rode the elliptical for 17
Love
minutes
it.
and then left and went directly to the
Because
coffee
it
shop
opened.
because I was like, all right, so I did something. I
done.
burned like 150 calories, but I got up, I did my routine.
Yeah.
I went in there, I did it. I feel good about myself, and then on with the week.
Man,
but if I don't do that, like the day starts slower. Things kind of seem to drag on.
You start your day working out in the morning?
Yeah, I usually get to the gym between 5:45 and 6 in the morning.
Well, let's jump into this. What's your morning routine?
I have 2 alarms.
2.
One is 5:52 a.m.
5:52.
That's my sleep-in alarm.
Okay.
And then my other one is 5:23 a.m., I think. Random times on purpose because I don't want to be chained by 5:30, 5:35. Can't have that.
Okay.
And then my early alarm is for like full gym workout, like trying to be there for 30 or 45 minutes. My later one is either when I get up and don't go to the gym but just read or piddle around the house or get some things done before anyone else wakes up, or short gym workout. So anywhere between 5:15 and 5:45. I also go to bed very early.
How early are we talking?
it's no problem for me to be in the covers by like 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning.
In the covers. And do you sleep that whole time? Are you a good
I usually
sleeper?
read, but I
Yeah.
can fall asleep anytime between like 8:15 and 9 p.m.
Okay.
Easily.
And you sleep all night?
I'll have like varying levels of good sleep,
But
but
you're a
I
pretty
listen
good
to
sleeper?
Huberman a lot, so
I
I'm
know.
trying to get better
Sleep
at
is
it.
like, man, I'm trying to take. I do not sleep well.
Yeah, I am very hit or miss.
Yeah.
And my wife is 30 weeks pregnant, so she's also very hit or miss. And
Yeah.
I'm not great at like if she gets up for something in the middle of the night, like I will also wake up,
You know, immediately.
and then I'm like,
yeah.
you know, it's hard to fall back asleep. And then I got into this rhythm like a week ago where I'd wake up at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and then I
Oh,
just like
man.
watch the clock until 5:15 or whatever, 5:23,
brutal.
my alarm. So I'm trying to get better at it. I don't know, drinking water during the day seems to help.
Yeah. All those.
A lot of
things.
days I'm just exhausted though, so I
Yeah.
do just sleep.
So it's easier. Well, I
it
do
is
think
easier.
when you have a manual, like you're out, like working, you're exhausted.
Yeah.
Differently than like mental exhaustion. Like I'm in front of a keyboard and a computer screen all day.
Correct.
And talking to people, and so mentally I'm exhausted. But it isn't the same. Like physical exhaustion, I think allows me to sleep better.
Correct. I would agree.
Than mental. Because mental, I'm just like, I'm still like on, right? My brain is not turning off. And I don't know how to stop that. I don't know.
I find myself on days that I work a lot on the computer or whatnot that my mind runs at night. Like I'm constantly thinking about an idea or something we're working on or whatever is going on in life. And without like the physical exhaustion, I feel like my mind can run at night. And so I've had a few of those nights in the last month where it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm just thinking, you know, like taking an idea all the way to the end. And you can sit there and just think all the what ifs, and if this person says this thing, or
Yeah.
if we do this thing, like what could happen. And so sometimes those nights are pretty rough as far as sleep is concerned.
Yeah. Do you take anything? Any
I try not
supplements,
to, but
anything
like
at
when
all?
I need to sleep,
Yeah.
boy, I'll hit like 2 or 3 Benadryls and I'm
2 or
gone.
3?
Yeah, it's
Oh
rough.
my gosh.
Well,
That's a
it's
lot.
all a dosing thing. So we might get into this, but my degree is in emergency medicine.
Right.
So I have like cursory medical knowledge. And so like I understand the dosing of over-the-counter medicine and a lot of the difference between like what you get at CVS on the shelf and like what you get prescribed is just the dose. And so like a Benadryl comes in a 25 milligram tablet, but like the starting IV dose on an ambulance is 25 to 50 milligrams in an IV, which is like significantly more
Oh,
potent.
wow.
So it's like you could take, oh man, I shouldn't say, but let's just say you could take like more than one Benadryl by mouth and be fine.
Man, I feel like one just like knocks me out. The
So-
25 milligram or whatever.
Yeah, I had poison ivy last summer really bad, and I
Uh-huh.
couldn't sleep because I was like itching.
Right.
It's all over me, and I text my doctor friend and I said, if I took 100 milligrams by mouth, is this a problem? He was just like, yeah, no,
Not at
you'll
all.
be fine. I took 100 2 nights in a row.
Did it like wipe you out for?
It's hard the next day.
Yeah.
Because it makes you kind of groggy. I don't love that feeling.
Yeah.
But like if I need to sleep, I'll take it, and that's maybe like twice a month. I don't really like the habitual thing to like make you sleep. I feel like that can be slippery
Yeah.
slope where, you know, if you get into taking, because I listen to Huberman
Right.
enough, and you know, if you get into taking like melatonin regularly, or which is like not a bad thing,
Yep.
but if you can start like depending on that, or you start depending on a sleep aid or anything like
Right.
that, like you can easily throw your body off, and
It's
then you
not
can't
good.
sleep naturally,
Right.
which I would prefer to do. But
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, I've tried to introduce some supplements, and my wife gave me a couple Saturday. Well, I've been taking some, and she was like, try these with it. And I swear it was like caffeine pills. I didn't fall asleep
was
till
worse.
5. I don't know what happened. I was like, I don't know. My body's rejecting these
This is
supplements.
worse.
Everybody else is like, I took one and I'm like falling asleep and feel so wonderful. And I'm like,
yeah.
hey, listen. And I sat up and read till like literally 5 a.m. And that was the night of time change. That was a couple weeks ago. So, it like I saw time change and it was not good.
The time
Anyway, I don't know
change.
how we're on the time change. Yeah,
It's another thing that drives me crazy.
yeah. You don't like it at all.
I don't really love it.
Yeah.
I don't have a huge opinion on which one we stick to, but I just wish we would stick to one.
Don't change the times.
Yeah, don't change the times.
I used to live in Southern Indiana. I grew up in Southern Indiana, and there's a section of Southern Indiana that doesn't change
move.
times. It's kind of like right on the line, and
Mhm.
so it's always so you were either half the year you're on fast time and half the year on slow time is what we call it.
You guys called it fast and slow time
Fast
too?
and slow time. Yeah.
So my in-laws are from just south of Elizabethtown, which is like 30 minutes past the timeline, and we call it fast and slow time.
Yeah. That's what I grew up with.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know why we're talking about that, but
Here we are.
we just jumped into it. How do we? Let's talk about how we know each other, Adam. What is your relationship to me and to
Correct.
To Orange Consulting?
Well, back in 2012,
It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. 11 years now.
Hmm.
Like I said, I graduated from Eastern Kentucky University with a degree in emergency medicine. I was riding on an ambulance as a paramedic, and I liked the work itself, and I was good at it, but I hated the hours and the lifestyle, so I was kind of looking to get out of that permanently. I was going to be married, so I was engaged, and a friend of Bryce's, who I was friends with, said, hey, there's this opportunity available to manage this Orange Leaf in Richmond.
We just opened the Orange Leaf in Richmond.
You just opened it. I think it was open for 6 to 9 months maybe. There was a
Yeah.
guy there before me. And he just said, do you want me to text him and tell him you're interested? And I said, yeah, sure. And this was like some random afternoon in the end of August. And he sent the text message to Bryce, and almost immediately I had a text message from Bryce that was like, can you come tomorrow or the next day and interview? And I said, sure. And so I went to the Orange Leaf in Richmond. I interviewed with you and Bryce for the manager position, and I had no qualifications to get said job.
I remember that. No, I'm just joking.
You should if you didn't. But I grew up working for and in small businesses, so I thought this could be fun for me to do. And so when I got that job, somehow I was managing Orange Leaf by day and riding on the ambulance at night, and that got rough quickly. So I stopped riding on the ambulance and just kind of let that go by the wayside. And Vinaigrette started about 14 months later, and I was just kind of doing my thing at Orange Leaf, and I had been in a couple meetings and heard that the Vinaigrette thing was coming along. And when it opened, I just kind of raised my hand, and at this point I was pretty bored at Orange Leaf managing it. Everything was running well and doing what we needed to do as far as Orange Leaf was concerned. So I raised my hand. I said, hey, I'll come help with that. And that was kind of perfect timing because I think Breakout was starting at almost the exact same time.
Almost the exact same time, yeah.
So we had these two businesses that were in infant stage at the exact same time, and I raised my hand and I said, hey, I'll come do this Vinaigrette thing, and I'll get in here and try to figure out what we need to do to make it better and grow it and this and that and the other thing. And so I opened our second location in downtown Lexington as the store manager, but was always kind of helping with the first store, and then eventually moved out of the store.
So wait, you opened Square?
Square.
Okay. You
Yep.
moved over and you helped us open the first one on
Right,
Easttown.
right.
And then you took over Square.
Yeah, I think I was working like 2 or 3 days a week at Townley, the first location,
Okay.
while it was opening, and really just trying to understand what we were trying to do, in my mind creating some systems and things that didn't exist. And then when I became the manager of Square, I think that was sometime in the winter or early spring before we opened that store, continued to try to standardize some things and whatnot, open Square, and I loved managing there, great teams and whatnot at that store. And then when we decided to open some more, I moved out of the store. I think in 2017 we opened 3 more, and then we can run through the timeline if you want, but I'll need some help on the other stores.
I mean, I don't remember.
It's a blur.
I don't remember the timeline at all. At some
think-
point, you came on as partner too.
Correct.
Oh, you remember what year that was?
I believe that was in 2015.
Okay.
Sometime after Square had opened.
Yeah.
And that was a really fun thing to become a partner in the thing I'd worked on. I was not expecting that. But it was a sweet move by you guys to allow me to do that. And I kind of felt like I'd always treated all the things in the Orange Consulting umbrella as if I'd owned them. And so it was fun to kind of get that opportunity and become an owner of something, which led to a lot of things that I'm sure we'll get to, which is why I don't work for Vinaigrette anymore, and I'm now
You're doing your own
doing
thing.
some of my own things.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this just for a minute. Your path is not. It's atypical. It's not
Very.
the path. Most of the time, that does not happen. You came along at the right time in the right place.
Yeah.
But what do you think was? It was more than just being at the right time in the right place. What is it that that puts you in that spot for us to go? Yes, we want you to move over here with Vinaigrette and help us grow this, and then come on as a partner. What is it?
Well, there's a few stories I could tell. I feel like I have
Ooh,
to tell
tell
this
us some
story.
stories. Okay.
The first answer to the question is that I feel like I did a good job of managing my orange leaf, which in hindsight wasn't that difficult, but I was like 22 years old. I had no like real management experience of people. So I had a lot of things to learn. And the funny thing is I took over as manager of Orange Leaf for somebody who wasn't super organized and like wasn't super detail oriented, which I am, like a pretty big stickler for like everything has a place. Like we rotate the food this way. Like when something comes out, you don't just put a random thing in
Very
that spot,
particular, that's
like
right,
everything labeled, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so like in my first week working at Orange Leaf, I reorganized everything. Like I moved everything in the kitchen. And in my mind, I was thinking like, this is so good. Like everyone's going to love
perfect.
this. It's perfect. Like
Yeah.
it makes so much sense. Like we'll put the spoons right by where we use the spoons, not in this random spot in the back of the kitchen. Well, it turns out that like the 12 college girls that worked at Orange Leaf at the time did not love that I just come in and
Changed
without asking anybody, I changed everything. And you came down. At most it was a month into me working. It's probably more like 2 or 3 weeks. And it was an afternoon. I can remember like clear as day. You kind of walked around and we talked about some of the things. And you said, "How do you think it's going?" And I said, "I think it's going pretty good, you know." And I think everyone's kind of taken to everything and blah, blah, blah. And you just looked at me and you said, "It's not going good." And so I was like, oh. And so we talked through some of the texts and emails that you had got from some of the existing staff. And I remember in that moment, I had this thought where it's like things could go two ways here. Like I can dig my heels in and just say kind of this is the way it is. They left me in charge kind of thing, which would not have been a great idea. Instead, I took what you said to heart, and I learned something about myself that day and something about managing people, which was that not everyone sees the world the way you do or your job the way you do. And so I chased down the main people that had issues, which happened to be the people that mattered the most in the store, the shift leaders and the other things like that. And I had conversations with them and apologized really for the way I had just like ran over them in a lot of ways. And the majority of them it bought in, and the store ended up running really well. And I added a couple people that were really helpful. But I remember I went on my honeymoon while I worked at Orange Leaf, and I had told you that I was leaving. And at this point, things were still running pretty well for me, or they had started to run pretty well. And I left someone in charge. And of course, while I was gone, like a yogurt machine stopped working and a fridge broke or whatever. Right. And when I came back, I asked you how it went, and you had said, I went down to visit once or something, and there was these things wrong, but they had already like fixed them all. They'd already called the right people, and they'd already put the right things in place and all this. And like, that was like the crowning achievement of my young life, was that I had created a team that would just solve the problem and not call Jason immediately, even though you were like, I had texted everybody your number or whatever and said, if there's a problem, call Jason. Yeah. And so those were the things like at Orange Leaf that I felt like, okay, I've got like somewhat of a grasp on what's going on here. And then to answer your question about Vinaigrette and the other things, I just kind of knew that when you're starting something new, there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of things to be figured out, a lot of things that, like, long days and difficult tasks to be achieved. And I thought, well, my orange leaf's running really well. I am a little bit bored as far as like the work itself is concerned. So I've got this team over here at Orange Leaf. Let me kind of like build them up and give them more responsibility, but I'm going to go over here 3 days a week. And, I started coming to Vinaigrette, and I just kind of started acting like a manager or assistant manager and just trying to figure things out. And I can remember asking in the beginning, like, how much lettuce do we put in the bowl? And everyone had a different answer, and that drove me nuts. And, I started thinking about those things, and I thought, okay, well, let me just do the same thing here, like, minus the change everything and not tell anybody. But I just started trying to think through, like, what are some of these ideas that could be solutions? And then when the opportunity presented itself to open the second location or even give more guidance to the one that existed, it was just kind of natural for me to raise my hand and say, there's an opportunity that exists here. I'll just step in and do it. I'll step in and figure it out to the best of my ability if you guys will trust me to do it. And that was really fun and interesting to me because it was new and it was difficult. And so I think, like, right place, right time is part of it, but there was probably also other people, like, within the company that were there either longer than me or, I don't know, had a similar skill set. But I think I was just really willing to just raise my hand and say, hey, I'll be the guy that figures that thing out, or that comes and closes the store a few nights a week, or whatever it is.
Did that scare you at all? I think you're exactly right. I think stepping up, and then being able to just say, hey, I'm going to help. Did that scare you at all, that you're putting yourself out there? You don't know if this is going anywhere. You don't even know at this point if we're going to pay you for anything you're doing. You're just like, hey, I'm going to jump in and do it.
Yeah. I mean, just to be candid, like, I didn't get paid more to go over to Vinaigrette. Like,
yeah,
I think I just got paid whatever I was getting paid at Orange Leaf.
We probably paid you less.
Maybe, I don't know.
Probably like, hey, this Vinaigrette thing,
but
we don't know about.
I kind of didn't care. I mean,
why didn't you care? That's what I want to get at. Like, why did you not care about that?
I don't know. A lot of that connects to, like, what I'm doing now too. Maybe, I don't know if it's worth telling this story, but my wife and I, when we got married, we had like $70,000 of student loan debt. She was a first-year teacher. I was a manager at Orange Leaf. We didn't make a ton of money, is what I'm trying to say here. But we lived off nothing, and we paid all these student loans off in like 2.5 years, which is like incredible for the amount of money we made. But we just worked really hard at it. And once we got out of the debt,
that was a lot of Fazoli's.
It was, yeah, that's Jason's joke, is that we would eat at Fazoli's because if you get the receipt and leave a review, you get like a free spaghetti or something the next time you come in. So
every night
we would pay for one and we would fill the review out and hand it in to get another one, and they give you a receipt for your free one, which you could then fill a review out, and this would just like go on in perpetuity.
This was his thing. He ate at Fazoli's for like 2 years straight.
We would eat there a lot. Okay.
Every meal, yeah.
But look, you do what you have to do.
Yeah, I know. I think it's great. I could not do that.
I know you couldn't.
But I think it's awesome. I
and you thought it was funny. You got me like a $10 Fazoli's gift card, and you were like, this should last you a year.
This will last forever.
But we did those things, and through that process, I learned a lot about myself. One is that although I really like money, I like to make money, I don't need all that much to live. And so I much rather like be doing something that I feel like I'm contributing to and is fun and like I don't hate going to, versus climbing some ladder or just like chasing a job because, I can make $50,000 this year and 60 next year and 80 in 3 years and et cetera, et cetera. Like that just doesn't really matter to me. And even now, like I've taken somewhat of a pay cut to like leave Vinaigrette and try my own landscaping company. And, I tell my wife and I tell people who care to listen, I just don't need all that much to live. And so it's actually more fun and cool to me to create something that exists and is a company that people rely on in some way than it is to like make some exorbitant amount of money, whatever you think that dollar amount is. And that's kind of weird. That's probably weird for most people. And like, do I think that we'll be really successful and I'll make good money? Yeah, of course I do. I wouldn't do it if I didn't think that. But I'm also not like losing sleep if we mess up a job and we make a little less than we should have, or if I have to go back and fix something. Like, I just don't worry about that. And so insert that thought into the vinaigrette situation is I kind of didn't care all that much about that. Like, I was doing something that was really fun. I felt like it was an opportunity. I was already like moving on my way to.
Okay, can I pause there? You say I don't care about that. What were those conversations, if I might ask, behind
With
closed
my
doors
wife?
with your wife, who says, okay, you don't care about money, you like what?
Yeah.
Was she on the same page? Was it cool or?
The funny thing about that is, like, when we got married, my wife was like, my wife's the saver and I'm the spender.
Okay.
And so all this debt I was telling you about was all mine. So she just like signed on for it. And
Nice.
the day we got back from our honeymoon, she, through college, had saved money. She had like $13,000 in the bank. And like the
Wow.
next day when we got back from our honeymoon, I just like threw it at student loans, like wrote a check for $13,000. And I remember texting her on my way to work and I was like, isn't that great? Like, we just took a big bite out of it. And she texted back and she was like, I just think that I want to talk about this at another time. And I was like, so at that moment I was like, whoa. But she bought in, and now she understands that like we don't owe anybody any money. So doing things like taking a pay cut or making a lateral move that's more fun but the same money, like, it kind of doesn't matter because we can live off very little every month, because I could cancel all these extra things I have and we can just like live off this very simple means. And then it's like a lot more fun when you actually make good money, because then you can do what you want with your money. You can go on vacation, or you can buy golf clubs, or you can have a golf membership.
Vacation or golf clubs.
Those are my two things. If we're not golfing or on vacation, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And now I can go out with a group of friends and I can just buy dinner and it's not a problem.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bother me to pick up a $300 dinner tab. And like,
Mhm.
that's really fun for me and exciting for me. And so she got on board quickly if she wasn't already on board. And we really see eye to eye on those things, which is extremely helpful.
Well, to me, it's not, it's not weird. It's that you're actually defining wealth in a little bit different way.
Yeah.
And I would say the correct way. And it doesn't mean that you're not trying to make money and you don't want to be comfortable. It's that is not the end goal. That's not how you're defining wealth.
Correct.
It sounds like freedom to me.
Yes.
It sounds like your personality. It sounds like I'm living the life I want to live, and that is where I find wealth in my relationships and being able to create something new and provide something that somebody else may not have if you didn't create it.
Yeah, very much so. That book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
Oh yeah.
Ramit,
Mm-hmm.
he just like changed my perspective on
It's a
that.
really good
I think
book.
5 or 6 years ago I read that.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. But it's just like, no, you're rich now.
Yeah.
If you want to be. And he has this concept in there where it's gonna spend as little as necessary on things you don't care about. So like, if you don't care about the kind of car you drive, like, it doesn't matter what car you drive. Like, don't have a car payment. But if you really care about the car you drive, like, drive a nice car, but you're gonna have to sacrifice over here in some way. And I feel like we've done that. Like, we live in a 111-year-old house that we've been remodeling for like 5 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, we do it as we can, and we like that. But if we cared so much about the house we live in and what it looks like when people come over, we would like take a loan out and fix it all at once. But we don't.
Right.
We just like, when we have cash to fix a room, we fix a room.
Right.
And that's just freed us up to do the things we want to do. Like, I want to
Mm.
golf, and my wife likes vacation. And other than that, like, we like to eat out. Those are like our 3 things that we spend money on. And other than that, we just kind of do the bare minimum. And if we want to splurge on something, we do. If not, like, it's pretty easy when you're like in line with the
How do
person
you
you're
cut
living
those
with.
things out? Talk to me about this, talk to me as someone who likes to have all the things.
Yeah.
That's the problem, right?
I don't know. Do you actually like all the
that's my
things, Jason?
I'm gonna have a therapy session.
Or do you just
on
like the
it.
idea
I like
of all
the
the
idea of
things?
all the things.
Yeah. it's
No, I
tough.
think you're exactly right. And there, we do the same thing, identifying the things that are important to us and the things that we don't care about as much.
Yeah. The subscription thing is like a big deal, you know? Like, I don't know. I know friends that have HBO Max, Hulu Plus,
All the things. yeah.
Netflix. And it's like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. Like, we're talking $100 a month, $150 a month if you pile them all up. But it's very easy to end up with $300 or $400 a month if you're not careful.
I know.
And we get attached to those things a little bit. And if you're not like super high income earner, like it's pretty easy to just like chew up a bunch of your monthly income on these things. There's no TV in my house, so
Zero
we just,
TVs.
like, we put our TV up.
Okay.
And we did it for 2 years a while ago, and then COVID came and we brought our TV back because there was a lot of time to fill. But we put it up again in January, and this is just like one of the things we don't care about. We don't care to like this rhythm that was in our house during COVID was like you have dinner and you sit down on the couch and you watch TV from like 6 to 8, and then everybody goes to bed or whatever. And it's just like we don't care that much to like be up on the Netflix show that just came out. So we got rid of our TV, and I legitimately think there's a financial positive to it in like a bunch of different ways. We read more, we spend more time outside, we have time to think about other things, we go see friends or whatever it is. Like, I do believe that we're actually like bettering our lives by this. And I get people that want to have their TV, like it's still
Sure.
in my house. It's
Yep.
not like I put it on the curb. But that's one of the things that I think helps with helps fuel all of these other thoughts that we have of where we want to go in our life. So
being able to say, these things I don't care about, these things I do.
yeah,
And
I
just
don't
picking
actually
them.
care about watching TV that much.
Yeah.
If it's there, like, yeah, of course I'll sit down and like veg out
Yeah.
and watch 3 episodes of something
Yeah.
and look up and it's 9:00, but that's just like doesn't seem super valuable to me. So let's put the TV up. And all of a sudden my son and I have read like 1.5 chapter books this year together.
Oh, that's
and so
awesome.
like he's learning that, and he's into about 1 million things, but
Yeah.
you know, we're always doing something in the house or go for a walk, or during COVID I got into feeding birds, so I have like bird feeders all over my yard. So we
Okay.
go refill those at night. And it's like, no, there's just like other things in life that
Yeah.
are fun and fulfilling outside of TV.
What kind of books you reading?
I knew you were gonna ask this.
You did.
Oh, of course.
Of course I am.
Right now I am okay.
Uh-oh.
I feel blasphemous to say this,
Oh,
and I said it
no.
to you a couple weeks ago. One of the new Stephen King novels, Fairy Tale, came out.
You did tell me this.
Gosh,
yeah.
I read like more than half of it, and it just like wasn't doing it for me. So I
Really?
put it away.
You're done. You didn't
Yeah.
even finish it? I was thinking you said you finished it. You didn't even finish it.
No, I couldn't finish it.
Yeah.
Like,
After you told me that, I was like, oh, I'm not going to read it.
it was like, it's interesting in a way, but I don't know. It just like there wasn't enough like twist and turn for me or something. I don't know.
Okay.
So I've read that recently. Another book that a lot of people have been reading is called Wrong Place, Wrong Time. I can't remember who the author is, but it's just like a popular current fiction book, and it was okay too. Which I hate to be just like crushing everybody's fiction dreams because I love fiction, but
Do you have a certain type, like thriller, suspense? What kind of?
okay, so the books that I recommend the most, let's go there.
Okay, let's do that.
Number 1, and I handed out 4 copies of this 2 Sundays ago at church, Just Mercy.
Oh, okay.
I feel like this is a book that you've got to read if
Yes,
you've not read it.
Agreed.
And
100%.
so I was at a men's group thing, like we were just hanging out with some guys, and we were talking about books. I said, have you read Just Mercy? Everyone in the room said no. I immediately went on Amazon and
Definitely
bought
needs to.
4 or 5 copies.
That's awesome.
And I
Yeah.
handed them out. Like, you've got to read this book.
So good.
12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson.
Oh, you're a Peterson guy.
I love
Okay.
Peterson.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love him.
That'll be a controversial statement.
That's fine.
You
We can get
said
my phone
that's-
number out at the end if you'd like
that's
to talk.
fine.
We didn't start with this. My feelings are not easily hurt.
Yeah, let's talk about your
so
feeling.
If you don't like what I have to say, that's okay. You're not hurting my feelings. And then there's a fiction series that I started when I was like 22 years old. I didn't start reading books till I was 21, 22 years old. I actually had not completed a book beginning to end until I was like 21 or 22 years old. And the fiction series that I like the most, it's by an author named John Sanford, and they're called the Prey novels, Prey. And the protagonist is Lucas Davenport, and he is a police officer in Minneapolis. And so there's 35 or so of his novels, and then there's an offshoot of another police officer that's, associated with him. There's like 12.
Was it like detective police
Yeah,
stuff?
detective.
Okay, yeah.
And those are really interesting to me for whatever reason. Like, I love reading those. And so I've read all of the novels he has out.
Have I ever told you about one of the series that I love that's a detective?
I wish you would.
It's called the Chet and Bernie Mysteries. No. It's a detective, a private eye, that has a dog. His name is Chet, and the books are written from the vantage point of the dog.
Oh, I love this.
I think there's 12 or 13. I've read probably the first 5. I just came onto these like a year and a half ago, and I always have those in my rotation.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of slowly going through them.
Yeah, I love it.
I think they're awesome. You should give them a try. They have very clever names. The very first one is called Doggone It.
Very
it's
clever,
awesome, right? It's awesome. I mean, you don't get more clever than that.
Correct.
So anyway, that's a side note. This is not about me. This is about you.
No,
but
I need. I'm always looking for good fiction books to read. I read enough nonfiction, I feel like, but
right, yeah, and we could have a whole podcast on.
We could talk for days about books if you want.
And what we should read, but we can't do that.
Nope.
And I think even just talking right here, there's like 5 things that I think we could have another podcast about this this thing. So I think today we're just kind of introducing you to everyone that's listening. And I don't know if you know, this is more of just an internal podcast for our managers and across the board for training and development and stuff. But
good.
It's out there for everybody, but most people are probably not going to find it.
All right, let me tell everybody.
Okay.
If Jason says something to you and you're not sure what he means, call me. I will interpret.
Do you have what is
Jason and I are the same person on the inside of the brain. And one thing that I've learned is that Jason's an excellent communicator, but sometimes you're not sure what he means.
That is true.
Which I have the same problem.
Yeah.
Is that I can easily come off in a certain way when I don't mean that thing.
Yeah.
This is one of the things I learned about myself early on.
Yeah.
I thought I was, being all happy and rosy and flowery, and people were like, he hates me, or I'm not sure if he wants me to talk to him, and this is nothing against Jason because I've learned so much from you, but I can play interpreter.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true. We all need interpreters, and we could have a whole podcast on this particular subject of how we come across and, our demeanor, and we both have come from the same type of leadership style.
Yes.
And both of us grown in different ways. Empathy being something that has been low for us, and very cut and dry. Well, what do you mean?
I think I was the bottom of the barrel.
Who cares what you're feeling right now? Just do it, damn it. But so we should have a whole podcast about that.
I will say that like the one thing that I've learned more than anything is like self-awareness. So learning like how I communicate and how people who aren't like me receive communication.
Yes.
That might be like the number one bow on everything as far as like moving up and learning how to do new things and starting your own things. Like if you don't understand how you receive information and how the people around you receive it, you're going to be like in trouble quickly.
Man, such a good word. That's another topic that we should get into.
That I leave it at that.
Yeah, preach it. Preach. Okay, so I'm going to pause right here. We have a segment that we've been doing, and it's called Airplane Answers. So Ben flies this airplane at me.
That was a great throw. Terrible catch.
It was a great throw.
You have your gym clothes on, too. I thought you would have caught that.
I know, right? I looked up at the light, and we're still trying to get it, down. But So he throws this airplane.
Did Ben make this question up?
I don't know who makes this question up, but
Oh, gosh.
I have not seen this question.
Oh, I love this.
And you have not seen this question, but I'm going to ask you what is on this page, and you can see that there have been other questions on there that's been scribbled out.
Are we doing the Post-it note now?
Post-it note. We're on the Post-it note. I guess they ran out of room. So here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
So you are doing your own landscaping. We didn't really get into that, but that's what you're doing now.
Yeah, I started a landscaping company.
Right.
Yes.
You're no longer with Vinaigrette.
Correct.
But you'll always be part of us.
Correct.
And soul. So here's the question. What are some things people get wrong when doing their own landscaping?
Okay.
You got
When
it.
people do their own landscaping,
Yeah.
here's one of the things I do a lot is that someone will call me to come out and fix their landscaping or clean it up or whatever. And when you buy bushes, shrubs, flowers, etc., they come in a little pot and they're all, this big or this big, and they don't think to read the tag that says, I'm going to be 4 feet tall and 4 feet wide. And so I'll walk up to a house that's just overloaded, and one bush is eating another bush and all this and all that. And so people do not think ahead to read the tag on the plant or shrub that says.
So are they planting it in the wrong place or planting it in the wrong pot? Or
They're planting them too close together, too many things.
Yeah.
So it's like when they're all little, you can just put them around everywhere, and it's like, man, this looks great. But then in 2 years, everything's grown to its full size, and it's a jungle, and there's no negative space, and there's nothing. And so a lot of the work we do is we'll come in, and someone will say, I want to remove this shrub, and I will put something in its place. And I say, I will remove that shrub. I will not put something in its place. You will live with it for 2 months and just see what it's like to have nothing there. Some fresh mulch in that spot. And I've yet to have somebody call back and say, I really got to have something in that spot. A lot of people appreciate removing the clutter of their landscape and keeping it clean. So,
okay. So
that's probably the main thing.
So your advice is, if you're going to do it yourself, just read the tag.
Less is more.
Yeah.
Yes, please read the tag.
Read the tag. Less is more. Do a little bit of research on what you're planting.
Like if you go to Costco and you buy a nice hydrangea that they have in a pot that's like this big and it's currently, a 1.5 feet wide, if you let it go, that bad boy will be like 5 or 6 feet wide. Like, don't put a bunch of other stuff right next to it because it's going to eat it up.
Okay.
Also, don't put your hydrangeas in full sun. They want shade.
I mean, you could keep going.
I could.
Probably. I mean, how much sun, and I mean, it's a whole thing. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna fly this back, and I'm gonna get better at catching these two. I have not been.
I thought this was gonna be a much more difficult question.
No, I thought so too.
Like personal, difficult.
I thought it was gonna be something that would throw you off a little bit.
I was hoping for that.
I was hoping for that.
Like
so
that.
next time, I'm gonna make sure that they.
Do you have one?
Really go
off the top of your head.
We could do it again. No, we'll save it for.
Ben's behind the camera,
time.
but he caught the return
here's
flight.
what I'm going to do. I have no idea how long this has gone, and we have tried to keep these. And you asked me.
We
how
talked
long,
about this beforehand.
You said,
Jason.
"How long is this going to go?" And I said, "Yeah, we try to keep them at like 30 minutes." But I think it probably hasn't been too much long. How long's it been, Ben? 44.
Oh, that's
okay,
better
we're
than
already
I
at
thought.
44. So I'm gonna end by asking you if there's anything else that you would like to discuss for like 2 minutes.
I don't know if I've got something that's only 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I just feel like if I say something, we'll get in trouble.
You'll just get into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just read books.
That's your advice.
Yeah, read books.
Read books.
Here recently I've realized I think I have a master's degree in business, and I think it's because for the last 10 years I have been involved in business and read, and I don't think anybody's handing me out an honorary degree, but
right.
I have started a business that has now paid me something, which I also think is like really fun.
Right.
And to create a business and get it up and moving and have it public facing, but then like write yourself a check from it is such a fun thing. And
you did that by reading books.
Read books.
Yeah.
And just work hard and pay attention.
Yeah.
And learn as much as you can. I've learned so much by being in this building and being around you guys, and really to your detriment in some ways, because I'm sure the writing was on the wall that at some point I was going to go do something.
You're gonna do your own
I'm
thing.
going to do my own thing. And
No, we are
You
excited
encourage it.
about that.
Yeah.
And encourage that, and we're happy for you.
yeah,
for
no one
sure.
sulked when I was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing.
I mean, we were sad that you left, but we weren't like,
yeah.
how dare you leave us? No,
It's
we're
like
not
sad
that.
but proud, and that's more exciting to me than I don't know, than some of the other things you could do.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
but yeah, read as
Yeah.
much as you can.
Yeah.
And if you're like not sure what to read,
Just
text
get to listen.
Jason.
How many books do you think you read a year?
somewhere between 35 and 50.
Yeah.
And that's a combination of Audible and like actually reading
Right.
books in my hand.
Yeah.
And then podcasts. I think, the combination of the education you can get now, it's so
It's
wide
amazing,
and vast.
yeah.
Yeah. And if you have somebody who's like willing to talk to you about like what you're reading or learning, that's like 2x helpful.
Yeah.
You kind of digest these things, and not everything's great from every book, but we've probably talked about books so many times where it's like, I really love what he said here,
Right.
but I could do without this part.
Yeah.
So yeah, read.
Read
And
find a partner to read with. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's a great
have
idea.
a conversation with somebody
Yeah.
who's like-minded or not. Maybe
Yeah.
not like-minded would be better.
Yeah. Yeah, and even you and I have been so busy that we have not been hanging out regularly, but we need to
No.
put something like, we need to put beer on the schedule.
I know.
once
Now
a
you've
month
said it and
for
put it out
these-
to the public,
for
so now
these
we have to do
we
it.
have to, like, once a month, just have a beer night and talk about what we're reading or whatever's going on. So,
Yeah, it's very helpful.
all right, I'm going to close it down. Thanks so
Okay.
much for being here and
Thanks for
taking your
having
time
me.
to be here. And I'll think of like 5 other things that we can jump in on.
Yeah,
Next
we'll
time we'll be
we'll
like
text the
very
rest of the
focused.
night
That's
about
right.
the things we
What
should have talked
this? What
about.
this? That's right. That's right. No, seriously. So glad that you're on here, and hopefully we can get some more episodes, and excited about what you're doing with the landscape company. And
Yeah,
I'm
I'd
sure
love
it's
to
gonna
come
be
actually
awesome.
talk about it sometime. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
That'd be cool.
How it
Yeah.
started and how
Yeah.
we got to where we're at. That'd
Yeah,
be fun.
definitely. That'd be cool. I
It's a
think
fun
a lot
story.
of people would be interested. So, thanks.
Thank you. Read some books.